Hi YouTubers, I'm back for another one of these What Would Have Happened If This Were in Real Life RhinoTMRT Gameplay Series YouTube videos. Now, I'm just gonna do the same thing that I did before, like different, a prologue, first half, second half, third half, and then maybe fourth half, and then the epilogue of which one. So I think the idea of spreading them out and through different like spreading them out for different ideas and all that is totally great. And the idea and all that, and I'm done with. And the idea of me doing this is actually, and the idea of me spreading out branching out the different parts of the story for the what would have happened if this were in real life round TMRT gameplay series YouTube video, like spreading out from one part to another and another, and you kind of get the idea. So yeah, and the idea is totally great and all that. And also Star Wars Rhino TMRT Gameplay Week is already done. So yeah, yeah, because all of the Rhino TMRT Gameplay Weeks are done. All the Rhino TMRT Gameplay Weeks from 2021 all the way through 2022 are done. So I guess until the Rhino TMRT Gameplay Week, September of 2022, I'll be able to come back to that until September. I won't be able to come back to that until September of 2022. So yeah, taking the break off. So I guess taking a break from Rhino TMRT Gameplay Weeks is actually a good idea, which honestly is the best. And yeah, I guess it kind of just makes sense and all that. So yeah. So this is what would have happened if the Tannen family of the Hill Valley a Back to the Future story movie were in real life. Now we of course come up into the beginning where it's totally different and totally new and different. Now this Back to the Future story alternative spin-off movie actually takes place in an alternative universe in which Biff Tannen is actually the main protagonist. So it's more of like a fan. So you can think of it more as like a fan fiction becoming an alternative universe spin-off movie. So you can kind of think of it as like that, and it's totally great and different. And honestly, I like enjoying all these, and honestly, I enjoyed doing all these. So yeah, so much like in the Back to the Future one, so much like in the Back to the Future 1 movie, instead only this time we see Biff Tannen, who's more of like a Marty McFly type. And you can think of this, and then of course he comes across, he of course comes across going into the mirror, and he's all like, wow, I can't believe it's just me. And then, of course, we see Marty McFly from the other alternative universe in which he is the main protagonist. We see both of them as main protagonists look at each other into the mirror, which honestly is the best prologue there is. And then, of course, the Biff Tannen protagonist obviously goes to the Hill Valley High School, which honestly I think this is a perfect idea. The idea of Biff Tannen, the idea of the villain becoming the protagonist in an alternative universe is actually a very good one, because we get to because seeing the villain as the protagonist is not usually a thing you see in like movies and all that. And I think it's actually a very great idea, doing all this and doing it. So, yeah, I guess that's the prologue and all that. And then, of course, we see Biff Tannen, the protagonist of this alternative Back to the Future story, go to Hill Valley High School. And then ultimately gets himself in trouble, just like in and then ultimately gets himself in trouble, and then he of course plays rock band, just like in the movie, just like in the first Back to the Future movie. You get the idea. Doesn't want to take any kind of rejections. Doesn't want to take any kind of rejections after being heard that his music is too loud. The idea that goes on. And of course Biff Tannen of course says goodbye to his girlfriend, the main protagonist one, and in this alternative universe. And then you kind of sort of see the idea that's going on here. So yeah, seeing the villain become the protagonist in a movie is actually something no one has ever seen before. Okay, well maybe it's happened with Megamind, but still seeing it. But okay, well maybe it's done within superheroes as Megamind, but imagine a regular human villain becomes the protagonist. Just imagine that. Honestly, it's the best idea. Honestly, it's the best idea since like forever. And yeah, so honestly, that was so okay. So that was the prologue, and honestly, I think it's very great and all that. So yeah, on to the first. Well, I guess on to the first part, which is which the first part. Well, I guess on to the first part. Yeah. So this is the first part of the other ones. Well, I guess I'll be able to fit all this in. So since the prologue one was actually the 5 minutes long, I'm gonna make this one, and because I'm planning to make this one for the next 8 more minutes. I'm going to divide it into the first part and the second part, and then of course I'm going to do the third part and the fourth part later, and then I'm going to do the epilogue as last. So that's how I'm going to divide all this. And honestly, I think this great idea of mine is actually very great, and the idea of the villain becoming the protagonist, the regular human villain becoming the protagonist in an alternative universe is honestly kind of very great. So for the first part, of course, you get the idea. Biff Tannen, the main protagonist, obviously has to go through a few couple of things, and then of course we see his brother, who's obviously Marty McFly, and of course, honestly, in this alternative universe, I just like the idea of Biff Tannen, the main protagonist, against Marty McFly, the main antagonist. In this alternative universe, I just love the idea of the main human villain becoming the protagonist and the main human hero becoming the antagonist. Honestly, I just love it so much I do just love it so much to the point where it's a lot to the point where it's something new and original that I actually enjoy. And so yeah, so you kind of get the idea. So Biff Tannen, the main protagonist, he of course meets his grandfather, who unlike in the original Back to the Future one movie, his grandmother actually broke up with his grandfather due to him getting in trouble and making a time machine. So yeah, you can kind of see that going on. So of course Biff Tannen, the main protagonist, meets his grandfather. For the record, I'm just gonna call him Doc Tannen. Doc Tannen. Well, okay, so Doc Tannen, the grandfather of Biff Tannen, the main protagonist, in this alternative universe. Like I said, it's an AU alternative universe. They, much like in the movie, much like it is similar to Back to the Future 1, of course, get attacked by the Libyans and all that, and much like in the original. And then in the second part, it's where Biff Tannen, the main protagonist, is going back in time, a little bit back in time in Hill Valley, and then of course he meets his father and all that, yeah, you can kind of see the idea. So that's kind of the first part and the second part of it. Honestly, I quite enjoy it, and honestly, I do enjoy from a great point of view. So yeah. So, anyways, now that I'm done with the first and the second part of it, then I'm gonna go on to the third and fourth part of it. So, on to the third and fourth part of it. So, seeing how I have less than 4 minutes left of this one, seeing how I'm trying to make this one a 13-minute one, I'm just gonna make this more quicker and add the third part, fourth part, and the epilogue part. So yeah. So, for the third part, of course, Biff Tannen, the main protagonist in this alternative universe, which I keep saying in this alternative universe because it's totally great. In the third part of it, Biff Tannen, of course, meets his mom, Biff Tannen, the AU. In the Biff Tannen, the main protagonist in this alternative universe, has to devise a plan with his grandfather, Doc Tannen. He has to devise a plan with his grandfather, Doc Tannen, to get both his parents back together. And then much like in the Back to the Future 1 movie, they of course Biff Tannen in this alternative universe actually has to get both his parents together, and he realized that they can do an outdoor dance is the only way Biff Tannen can get in this alternative universe can get both his mom and dad together. And this is an alternative universe, and this is kind of my idea of how all would have played out. And of course, it's honestly good and everything, and yeah, I kind of like it. So yeah, and I guess it kind of does make sense. So that's the third part where they of course plan it out, and then the fourth part is where we're gonna skip all the way over to the scene where Biff Tannen's mother and father are almost losing their romance due to Marty McFly, the main antagonist in this alternative universe. And then, so Biff Tannen's father in this alternative universe ultimately puts an end to Marty McFly in this universe. They of course, both Biff Tannen's parents in this alternative universe live happily ever after. Uh, Biff Tannen and Doc Tannen, of course, go back. Of course, everything goes back to normal. Biff Tannen and Doc Tannen go back to their go back to their timeline, and then everything goes back to normal. Then the next morning, everything is so good and everything is so great and all that. And then Biff Tannen sees his girlfriend again in this alternative universe, and then just before they're about to, fall in love and all that, Doc Tannen goes around and says, Biff, there's a great danger in the future. Marty McFly's the Emperor of Hill Valley. Which imagine Marty McFly being the Emperor of Hill Valley and having like a temple and all that. Well, this is sort of like the idea, and then Biff Tannen's all like, what's gonna happen to us? What are we all gonna be like? What are we gonna be like, forced or something? And that's going to be like a Star Wars reference or something. But then it turns out that Biff Tannen's family in the future, and Biff Tannen's alternative universe family in the future are having problems. And then, of course, they say the iconic, Biff Tannen and Doc Tannen say the iconic line together, and that's the end of both the third part, fourth part, and the epilogue. Now, I kind of liked doing this one because, it's sort of like quickly doing this one because it feels great, it looks great, and honestly, I think the idea of the villain it becoming the protagonist in an alternative universe is actually done very well here. And that's kind of the idea that I wanted to go through because it's totally new, totally different, and it kind of makes sense for me to do all that. So yeah, and I guess that's it. So yeah. Anyways, that's it for today. Peace out. Bye bye. And that was what would have happened if the Tannen family of Hill Valley the Back to the Future story movie were in real life. Now, I almost kind of quite said that, but I guess I just tried and over, and I couldn't, it took me forever, but I just thought it was a very great one and all that, and a great Wednesday YouTube video to do, and I just wanted to make it more quicker than ever. So yeah, I just wanted to finish these two lines up of the script of the Wednesday YouTube video script, and now I'm done with it. So yeah, I just wanted to finish up the Wednesday YouTube video script, and now I'm done with it. So I just wanted to make it a quick update on it. So yeah. Anyways, that's it for today. Peace out. Bye bye. Like literally, peace out. Bye bye. Just for today. Okay, so I know what you're all thinking, and yes, of course, hi YouTubers. Now, this is sort of like an ad for Rhyme Potter, seeing how I have my, thing right here. This is this right here is the logo for RhinoTMRTGamePlay. I guess it kind of does make sense, so yeah. So for Rhyme Potter Year 1, it's actually a movie that I'm actually working on. And, the idea of me doing that is actually very great. And, of course, seeing how I'd be portraying and voice acting Rhyme Potter, which, by the record, I'm going to have to do a lot of acting for that. I'm going to have to work on all that. So
In other words, I'm just doing everything I can right now for Rhyme Horror Year 1 movie. So yeah, anyway, that's it for today. Peace out. Bye-bye.